Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video. This is actually layout one that I did with How to Kill a Kit with Style for this month. I know you already saw one on the first because that was for a hop, but this is the first layout I actually created. So you'll recognize a lot of these papers because I used the scraps from this layout to create the first layout you saw this month. But I was dying to go ahead and jump into this floral, and I loved how it looked with this pink polka dot. So I knew I want those two papers to be the main papers on this layout. And for whatever reason, I don't know, this is my first page for the Poe Museum. I know the first layout you saw this month also was, but this is the first one I created. And just with Poe being a poet, there's a lot about his schooling and everything when we went to this museum. I really wanted to incorporate the notebook edge punch just because there's a lot of like notebooks and paper themed things for him. So I'm gonna go ahead and punch. I did a border punch on the pattern paper, but then I wanted a little bit more distinction of that layer, so I also border punched some white to layer up behind this other one, and I think that looks really cool. So I'm thinking that'll be like a bottom detail of this page, and then I'll incorporate something at the top of the page. I have 3 photos for this layout, so I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to lay them out. 2 of them are horizontal 4x6s, so I think I'll just stack them together how I usually do. But the other one, which you could barely see to the left there, is my brother standing in a coffin. So there are several buildings at the Poe Museum, and each one kind of has a theme. This one I think was him growing up. It has his writing desk, it has his bed. I believe there's an actual staircase from his childhood home that was moved to this building. This museum's really cool. They call it the Poe House. He didn't grow up in this house. He did visit it while he was alive, but they just brought a bunch of stuff from his whole life, from everywhere he's been, to this one location. So it's really cool to actually get the see his actual bed, his actual desk, his actual piano, all of that kind of stuff. So that was a lot of the things in this particular building where these photos were from. But there's also a whole section about how, and this is another thing I really liked about this museum, it really showed you what influenced his different poems and his different stories. And for this particular layout, a big running theme for several of his pieces of work is his fear of being buried alive. So that's kind of why there's a coffin there, and my brother was demonstrating or just trying to get a feel of how claustrophobic that might feel if you had that fear. So that's kind of the gist of this page. I didn't use, this is the event from last month I really didn't want to use that homey collection for, but I decided to go with this floral theme collection apparently. Part of me wanted to wait until I had kind of a more creepier collection to use. I think if I had like P13's Moonstruck or something that could be super creepy, I could have done like a really awesome kind of creepy page. But I was dying to use this Felicity Jane collection, and I decided to just go for it and create this kind of juxtaposition of these happy springy colors, these bright happy kind of mementos, and inject a little bit of creepy into it. So hopefully through these pages you can kind of see that. It was a lot of fun to work that way. This is kind of the base design for this layout. I went ahead and took the branding strip of those chevrons, and I'm going to run that across the top of the page. So I'm glad I'm getting a branding strip used up. And I'm going to go ahead and matte all of these photos in some white. I decided that it was looking too blocky with all 3 of these photos being rectangles. And I really only needed the coffin in the one photo. So I do end up fussy cutting the picture of my brother in that coffin, and that's one of the things I think is really cool and kind of gives you that creepy vibe, is you have this silhouette of the coffin, and I will matte that on some white and fussy cut that as well, so you really have this shape in the middle of the page that is a coffin shape, which is kind of weird. But I had a lot of fun. I've created 3 pages so far this month for the Poe Museum, and I really enjoyed kind of pulling in these kind of creepy elements. I like that you kind of have to do a double take. You see the page initially and it looks very happy and pretty and bright colors, colors, and then the more you look, it's kind of like the weirder things you find. So you'll kind of see that come together, but I really thought that this fussy cut coffin of my brother was kind of that first element. And you can see my little cat dish there I brought in. Those 2 pins there I bought from the souvenir shop with the thought that I would use them as ephemera on these pages. So I went ahead and took some pliers and pulled off the pointy backs of these pins so that they're flat. So you'll see those this month as I try to incorporate them, and then that circular piece is the actual sticker from the Poe Museum that we had to wear on our t-shirts. So you can even see my brother in that photo has that sticker on his shirt. So I really wanted to incorporate our actual sticker from this event on the pages as well. And I just love that it's in this black cat dish, because black cats are also a running theme in Poe's work. So I love that. Everything's kind of themey, and I really am enjoying that. But again, this is the first page that I'm doing for this month, so I'm gutting what's hidden, trying to be strategic about how I use these papers. I definitely knew these 2 papers I wanted to use on other pages, so that's why you can see that polka dot. I really saved a bulk of that page by only using a couple of those strips on the top and bottom of the page, and then now I'm gutting this huge portion where the photos are going to sit from this other floral, so I'll have those to use on the other pages, which you already saw in the first layout of the month on the 1st. So that's kind of where those pieces came from. I always like seeing where the scraps from previous pages ended up on future layouts, so that's kind of fun. But I'm going to go ahead and glue down the branding strip across the top. I really like how that kind of defines the edge there, and then I have this notebook edge border punch along the bottom. I really like how that kind of transitions between these 2 papers. I'm just going to clean up my edges here now that I have everything glued down to the black background, and this is where I'm going to go ahead and start gluing stuff down. I know this is where I want it positioned, and I know I want something kind of building out from the bottom of that coffin to the left into this open area. And then I'm kind of thinking I'll have a little cluster in the upper right hand corner, so there's kind of this diagonal visual with all the embellishment. So bringing in all of my ephemera bits. Again, they're super happy, pretty. I mean, this is the Felicity Jane Autumn collection. Felicity Jane in general is just very, very pretty and happy. So it was a little strange working with it in the context of Edgar Allan Poe, because he's such a dark Gothic character with scary stories. So it was interesting playing with this stuff like that. You can see I have the pocket cards here. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to use. As I'm going through the pocket cards, I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut a couple of the elements that I just know I will use as a fussy cut item. I know I will have a much greater chance of using this floral as a fussy cut item rather than in this pocket card. And you actually saw this on the layout on the 1st of the month. I went ahead and got that on a page, but I'm glad I went ahead and fussy cut it, because that way it's done, it's ready to be used. I really love this multicolor chevron. It really pulls in all the colors from this collection, so I'm thinking that might be a good base for my little cluster down here. I'm trying out a few other pieces. I really like how this pink My Story card looks, and I also really like the way that plaid looks. So you saw me use that plaid with the scraps of this layout on that first layout. I love the way the plaid looks with this floral and this polka dot as well. So I'm glad I got to use it together on the next layout, even though I didn't get to use it on this one. But I thought this My Story would be a nice base for my cluster, just because there's spot for journaling if I want it, but it's a nice layery blank slate for me to build off of. So I decided to go ahead and get the bicycle from the collection used up here. And then I liked the chevron look, so I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut the end of that chevron so you kind of get that dovetail design. And then I had a little scrap of one of those doilies that Allie sent me, so I wanted to go ahead and get that on here as well. I'm just trying to layer up a bunch of kind of fun textures over here on the left. And I like where it's looking, so I'm going to go ahead and start gluing stuff down. I'm going to get the coffin glued down. I'm glad my brother did that so I didn't have to, because we needed a picture of someone in the coffin, and he was the first to volunteer. I also thought it was perfect, because when I was first looking at these photos, I was like, oh, my brother is wearing this neon yellow shirt. I'm like, how am I going to scrapbook these photos? And then I saw this collection. I was like, oh, there's neon yellow, we're good. So I am also glad that that worked out well, the colors and the walls behind that top photo are that kind of pinky color, so I also think that kind of goes with the color scheme as well. But I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut the end of this pocket card for the chevron detail. A huge chunk of it's going to be covered. Right now I'm debating on if I want to gut that or not, because I always have an issue using the pocket cards in the collection, so I'm kind of like, do I really want to save pocket cards when I already have trouble using them? And I couldn't help myself and I had to gut it anyways, so I did save a piece of that chevron, which you'll end up seeing later on in this process video, so I'm glad I did save that little bit there. I'm liking how this bike is overlapping. I'm going to pop it up on some foam right there just to give it a little bit of dimension. You'll see at a certain point, and I'll let you know when that is on this page. I think I'm done. I go ahead and take my pictures at the end. I go ahead and edit my video. I literally opened it up to do the voiceover and looked at the page and I was like, it's not done. Like, I want to do more to it. It's not done. I have this thing with Felicity Jane where it's such a pretty collection. I really like keeping it more simplistic and open and simplified so you can really see all the pretty products. But for this page, I looked at it and I'm like, I need to do more. So I am creating this little cluster in the upper right hand corner. You can see I'm getting that little pin from the Museum of the Raven. It says Nevermore on it. And I'm also getting a bunch of the plus signs from the die cut pack used on here. But I am almost done, or I think I'm almost done with this page at this point. I'm going to do a title and I'm going to do some kind of cool embellishment that I can't wait to show you. I've done it before, but I don't do it often. So I was really happy to incorporate it on this page. But yeah, you'll see, and I'll tell you when I think I'm done, and then the video will kind of briefly cut, and then this was several days later. You'll notice my nails are done because we got our nails done mani-pedis for my mom's birthday. You'll see like jewelry change on my hands, like my ring is in the shop getting resized, so you won't see my ring at the end. So anyway, several days later I come back to this page and I add a bunch more really cool stuff, and that is all thanks to Ronnie. I got the sweetest happy mail from Ronnie. If you guys follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you probably saw in my story because I had to share. She sent me a massive package of goodies, and I went through it all, and there's so much that spoke to me for this page. I just pull out a bunch of the stuff she sent me, and I think, like, I can't imagine this page without the stuff she sent me because it added so much. So you'll see that really rejuvenated my excitement for this page and for future pages this month with the goodies she sent. So you'll also see that. But people always ask where I get different die cuts and stuff. Because Ronnie sends them to me and I don't know the names of the die cuts, so I'm just going to tell you now. All the cool stuff at the end of the page is from Ronnie, and I don't know where she got it from. Here you can see my actual copy of the Edgar Allan Poe Major Tales and Poems. I'm going through one of the poems that was inspired by being buried alive. I'm trying to figure out my title right now, and I really thought it would be cool if I could use a name of his poem or a iconic phrase from his poem that was inspired by that as my title, just kind of as a subtle nod to his actual work that was created by it. But I'm going through one of the short stories about being buried alive to see if anything jumps out at me, and I'm really not finding anything. You can see me going back and forth trying to see, like, do I want to use the title of this poem? Is there a phrase that jumps out? And really there's nothing, but there are several pieces of his work about being buried alive. So I thought, instead of going directly from his work for my title, let me just Google what the fear of being buried alive is called. And it's actually called, and I hope I'm saying this right, Taphophobia. And I was like, you know what? I have the letters to spell this out. This whole kind of theme of this page and the inspiration behind a lot of his works that we learned in this building was about his fear of being buried alive. So that's what I'm titling this page, Taphophobia. I'm using these really sweet foam alphas from Felicity Jane's Joy collection, and I think it looks so cute up there. And again, just that pop of the black, the theme, it just adds a little bit of a creepiness. I think the raven that says Nevermore is kind of a creepy element. So I'm kind of, again, just trying to bring in a little bit of that Poe into my design. And so I was really pleased with that. I really wanted to use the name of his poem or something, but I'm kind of limited on my alphas, but I had everything I needed to spell this one, and I just thought that was perfect, and it kind of encompassed a wider theme of what I was trying to get at. So at this point, I'm like, I want some more creepy stuff on my page. I think it would be really cool if I did a wax seal in black. I just want some more pops of black. I really like the pop of the black title, the pop of the black pin that says nevermore. So I was like, you know what, I think if I could do like a really cool like wax seal in black, that would be really cool. So there you just saw me using my little wax seal kit. I just stamped, I only have 2 stamps, and one of them is the one that came with my little kit, that's a tree, and the other one is for a wedding, so it says save the date on it. So I just used the one that was a tree. I'm just waiting for it to cool enough for me to be able to peel it off this vellum. But I think that is so cool, and I was so proud of myself, and I just really like adding that. I really want to do more wax seals on my page because I think they add such a cool touch. It's just a different dimension and texture, and it's kind of like a wow statement. It's like the new flare badge for me. I don't know, but I think it looks so cool. So I'm trying to be careful as I peel it off. I don't want to break it. I always use vellum because I think vellum it'll peel off easily with, and it never does, but I'm just trying to cut around the edge, and then I'll end up peeling off the vellum. But I think that is really cool. So that's going to end up going in the cluster next to the coffin. It moves around a lot because I'm really trying to find the best spot for it. But I think it just looks at home there in that cluster kind of next to my brother. So now that I have it off, I'm going to move it around. And with using this wax seal, I already know I kind of want to use my black Nuvo drops for little accent dots. It almost would look like residual wax drops from the wax seal, and I think that's really fun. So I'm just trying to play around with where I want it. I really wanted something on the right side of this page, but it just got lost there. And I was like, this is a really cool wax seal. I really am proud of it. I want you to be able to really see it. So that's why I put it here on the left side. I cover up the from the pocket card that says the story, but you can see the story part, and I think that's more important, not just because I'm not doing my journaling on this card, but I think just the word story in the context of Edgar Allan Poe is on theme. So I just like that one word is showing, and then I'm going in with some Nuvo drops. I do 3 little clusters. I actually end up smudging the Nuvo drops up here at the top while I'm trying to take my photos. So you can see that blob kind of got messed up there. But this is where I cut. This is like a week later, and I'm back trying to play with this page, and I'm like, it needs more stuff. So you can see all this cool stuff off to the left here. This really cool ribbon, black ribbon. There's a couple die cuts. There's a cool little skeleton. I loved this little heartbeat thing. I was like, right when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this has to go on my Edgar Allan Poe page, because how perfect for the Telltale Heart. Like, how perfect is that for his poem? And I just loved how perfect everything went with my page. Like, Ronnie, I don't know if you're psychic or something, but she sent me so much stuff that I was like, oh, this is perfect. Perfect. So I need to add some more. I was like, I just need more things added to both these clusters. It's too plain. So you can see me kind of peeling off the Nuvo drops from up there. I'm going to kind of peel up all of this stuff. I'm just going to add the scrap of the pocket card that I gutted from the chevron in the bottom cluster. I'm just adding up there, so that same kind of texture is up there, but I just wanted another layery piece to kind of beef it out a little bit. So I'm adding that. Everything else is going to pretty much go where it was. But there's also this tiny little white tag. It's so cute, this itty bitty little white tag. And I'm going to also pop that behind the raven as well. So Ronnie also sent me that. This really cool ribbon though, I was like, this has like the coolest, like, it's kind of creepy, it's kind of like, I don't know, spidery. I just thought it was so cool for this Poe page, and it added so much like texture, and I think it's so cool. So I'm going to run it horizontally across the top here. I really felt like I just needed more black. I needed more pops of black for this to be a Poe page. So that heartbeat die cut was perfect. I'm going to add this ribbon running along the bottom of that branding strip, just trying to secure it so it doesn't come off, but I think that looks so cool. There's a couple of die cuts that Kelly sent me with my Felicity Jane stuff that's black and white, so I thought about using them, but they're just a really different kind of animation than the floral arty on the page, so I decided to wait on those. But you can see I was kind of thinking about adding those in. for some more black and white pops. So I like how those look. They're just a different kind of floral. So I want to save those for another layout where they can be more of a star. But I do want some more black and white stuff. So there is this black and white chevron banner in the die cut set. So I'm just going to tuck that within these other banners I already have just to add another little detail. I also kind of like that it's behind the bike because it's almost like tread marks. So I think that's kind of cool too. But I'm just trying to wedge it under here. I like where the other two clusters of enamel dots are, so I'm trying not to mess with those too much. I'm just trying to work around it. But then I also kind of felt with the black I added to the top, I really wanted some black at the bottom, and I also felt like that would help you see the border punch a lot better. So I'm gluing this strip of black to the bottom, and then I'm going to tear it. So you only see a little of it behind the punch. But I think that's a really cool detail too with the torn edge, and you'll see me mimic that, or you saw me mimic that already on the first page of this month. A lot of the stuff I did on this page I try to bring into the next one just because they were companion pages. But you can see me trying to fight with it to wedge it up under that punch. And then you'll see me tear it too. I'm just going to take my ruler so it kind of stays straight and I don't disrupt my layered punch. But I think that's really cool too. So that's all I needed. I just needed more black and I needed more creepiness. So I think the torn edge kind of looks creepy too. So now that I have my nails done, it's harder to do this kind of stuff. But I think that looks so cool. Like, I'm so glad I kept going with this page because everything I added, just like it needed it. And I think it looks so cool by the end. So Marcus put his hand in there. He was just playing with that die cut Ronnie sent. He really likes that fence die cut. And I ended up using that on the following page, which you saw on the first. So that does get used up. But he actually told me he thought it would look good having this trim at the bottom of the page as well. And I agreed. So I will end up doing that really cool black trim across the bottom as well. And I just think it's so cool. I love that. So I'm just going to get that taped up too. I'm trying to think what else I do. I know I do a little bit of journaling, and then I do want to go back and add more Nuvo drops up there by the raven pin, just so there's that visual triangle. But down the side here, I decided to do my journaling. It just says, we visited the Poe Museum and learned a lot about Poe's inspirations, one being the fear of being buried alive. I like that because it kind of explains my title, so you don't have to look it up. You kind of can get between my journaling that that's what it means. I like how it's just subtle down the side there, but it gives you a little something on the right side of the page. And then here I am going in with the Nuvo drops back up here by the tag, since I had to take off the Nuvo drops from before. But here are the close-ups. This page was so much fun. I loved all the different intricacies and the meanings behind everything in relation to my experience in Poe. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. There's more pages to come. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.